What's up, chat? It's Chatteronius here. As live service games become more prominent within the games industry, many game developers are coming up with the idea to make their games into a live service, which could possibly secure them with recurring income and a player base that continues to come back in order to complete the weekly tasks that are given out. Making what was supposed to be a game into some sort of job. Live service games have been on the rise for about 20 years, and those games have been coming out partially completed with the promise to complete the development of the game a year or two into the future. And you could technically support those games by purchasing cosmetics and in-game items, even though those profits go straight into the pocket of shareholders and CEOs. As live service games continue to come out and ask you to spend hours upon hours of time completing weeklies and dailies, the player's time begins to become more of a precious resource. With the inclusion of daily and weekly challenges, the developers of a game obligate players to continue playing every day, even if they stop finding fun in playing. If you stop playing that game, you could also fall behind other players in terms of gear score, or you could just be left behind in the story, as games like Destiny tend to remove content under the guise of making the game more streamlined. Situations like this could be problematic for people with busy schedules, as they may not have enough time to continuously dump into a game just to keep up. Games like Fortnite and Apex Legends are currently the kings of the hill known as live service games, and underneath them are bodies of games that attempted to get a piece of that pie. Games like Rumbleverse, Crossfire X, Knockout City, and even Babylon's Fall have announced their closure due to the lack of revenue they've been receiving, along with a dwindling player base. Lucky enough for the players, developers of the game Rumbleverse actually refunded the players their money that they've spent on the game, unlike other games like Apex Legends Mobile, in which the developers say that no money will be refunded at all, nor will it be transferable to Apex Legends proper when the mobile game shuts down. One of the most significant negatives is the cost of live service games to the consumers. As I said before, publishers launch the game with basic features and then require players to purchase additional content to unlock access to new features, which can end up leaving the players feel burned by their purchase. These games also lock skins behind exorbitant costs, also making the players feel like they're not getting the full experience of the game unless they purchase those skins. One example is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which locked the cooler looking skins behind a paywall while the players got gear that looks considerably worse by progressing through the game, along with the game also being fully priced at $60. While some games may be marketed as free to play, the practices put into place usually end up costing the player way more money than they would have normally spent if they had just bought a normal, fully priced game. The impact of games as a service towards the consumer can be significant as well, as the cost of live service games would be potentially prohibitive, particularly for players that desire full access to the game's content. While some people may argue that the cost of making games is becoming more expensive, the opposite is actually true. In the age of digital gaming, the cost of sending physical copies has plummeted, as games can be purchased and downloaded over the internet. The cost of storing the physical copies have also greatly diminished, as digital copies take up no real-world space, cutting out middleman retailers like Best Buy and Walmart. Also, the advent of AI technology can decrease costs of development, as developers can have AI generate worlds and structures almost instantaneously by feeding the AI with assets that were already made and paid for. Secondly, the games as a service model isn't just harmful to the consumers, it's particularly damaging to the developers as well. As games come out, publishers lord over the developers and demand they add in ways to monetize their content beyond the price tag, leading developers to continuously change the scope of their project, ending up in wasted time, effort, and money. Recently, a game known by Darktide 40K has been affected by those problems. It's known that the developers of Darktide were told to constantly change the structure of their game, ending up in content like story being cut in exchange for the privilege of being able to spend a few more dollars on the skins that the developers had in store. Even in spite of the myriad issues that Darktide had, like server instability, gameplay bugs, missing weapon modification, and the crafting features that were originally promised to come out a week after the game's official release. Only after the outcry of the player base did the developers listen, and they finally released the full crafting experience, just a few months past the promised release date. Another recent example showing the damage that live service model causes is none other than Blood Bowl 3. While Blood Bowl 3 touts that it comes with the updated 2nd edition rule set of the renowned board game Blood Bowl, the game falls tremendously short. The game released with a mountain of issues ranging from readability of the UI, to the customization of your characters, to the stability of servers. The developers known as Cyanide announced the game in August of 2020 and promised a full game release during the year 2021. While the game did release, it came out after numerous delays in worse condition than the previous iterations of Blood Bowl, and 2 years late. Blood Bowl 3 was released with monetized content that was free in previous iterations, along with themes that are currently in the game's files but stashed away in order to give out piecemeal or be sold outright. Customization items are able to be purchased with real cash and are consumable, meaning that if you buy an item, you only purchase one of that item and you can only use it on one character, not the whole team. Individual pieces are being sold from the price ranging 75 cents to a whopping $7.50 depending on rarity, and cosmetics packs that you can purchase from the Steam store are also individual pieces, meaning that the Black Orc and Nobility Edition are near useless for the extra $10. The game also offers a Blood Pass, which is this game's version of the Battle Pass, and the Blood Pass locks away teams that can be unlocked through excessive amounts of grind, or they can also be unlocked by purchasing the Blood Pass outright, instantly granting you access to the featured team and all the cosmetics within the pass. Blood Bowl also promises to release additional content and feature improvements in the future with their official roadmap, ranging from pausing the game to resuming a game after disconnection. While the developers of Blood Bowl 3 state the game comes out with the updated rule set, the roadmap says otherwise, and it shows that the actual updated rules from the board game will be added in November 2023, almost a full year after the game's release. This is truly the epitome of modern gaming. Currently, publishers like Ubisoft are still attempting to get a new live service game up and running, even when their previous attempt like Hyperscape failed to a waning player base. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League was just announced to be a live service game that is filled with free-to-play mechanics, despite it going to be released as a full-price game. The game is announced to have a battle pass that has free tiers and paid tiers, all of which are cosmetic, and the game will no doubt have a store where you can purchase upgrades like the resource pack and XP boosters, just like in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The game will also be filled with equipment that has gear score in order to artificially extend the gameplay, and lock players down with tasks in order to acquire better gear. Suicide Squad will also be online only, despite it being a single-player game, which means that players with unstable internet connections cannot play the game that they paid for. What's more, if the game servers go down, the players will also lose access to the game they have purchased, leading them to feel as if they've wasted their precious dollars. Still, Ubisoft is adamant about keeping the game always online, either for piracy protection purposes or to keep their DRM active. Another publisher by the name of Activision Blizzard has also twisted one of their older games, Overwatch, to become a live service model. Although the game was a previously pay-to-play game, $40 from $60, ActiBliz released the sequel to the hit game and added innovative features like $10 battle passes that don't award you the premium currency when you complete it, and with heroes locked behind them, reselling previously free skins for marked up prices and taking out half the mechanics like the on fire meter. ActiBliz are being scummy to the point of giving the players funny money and calling the in-game currency yellow, which is the color of the premium currency, and calling it a day. You know it's a bad time when players at Overwatch pine for the days of the loot box, which is just a glorified slot machine, but it was still a lot better than what is actually implemented. Overwatch 2 was also supposed to be released with a player versus enemy game mode, where you defend the payload against NPCs until you reach the end of the map. But surprisingly enough, that mode was delayed for a year, which effectively renders Overwatch 2 a game that has been made a lot worse for the consumer for no extra added content. There are also 3 challenges that you can complete that award you a whopping 10, 20, and 30 premium currency respectively, netting you 60 of the premium currency a week, while even the cheapest of the skins cost hundreds of the currency. So, are live service games dying? I tend to think that it's a bit of a mixed bag as publishers and developers try to push for games as a service, enticed by the potential of recurring monetization. But as games that demand increasing amount of a player's time come out, the more the players become wise to these practices and outright refuse to play such games. The gaming sphere is already saturated with a multitude of live service games, and a person only has so much time, especially when people are already preoccupied with working 1 or 2 full-time jobs, dealing with family, and other modes of entertainment like streaming services and TikTok, and the indie gaming scene. The games as a service model faces stiff competition. As incomplete live service games begin to crumble and wither away, not even a year after their release, it becomes more apparent that this model of gaming is unsustainable in the long run, unless those games are already one of the established live service games. As players refuse to purchase or play these live service games, developers and publishers alike may rethink the idea of transforming the developing game into a service that is geared towards taking more money out of the wallet of the consumers. Remember, if you as a player are becoming disillusioned by the state of gaming, AAA games are not the only games available. They are only the most marketed ones. Also remember that there are a ton of games that actually respect your time, and all you have to do is look for them. If you like this video, remember to leave a like and comment down below with your thoughts on the state of gaming. If you're looking for a welcoming community of gamers, check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/Chadronius and my Discord. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate your time, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.